Attention, Commander Nation. This is a bomb about to explode in Ashburn. Our franchise quarterback is about to sign a $160 million contract. Yes, you heard that right. Almost $53.4 million per year. But before you go out and celebrate, Ian Rappaport and sources from Ashburn confirm that this mega contract, meant to be the ultimate weapon for our young leader, could become the mortgage that sinks the Commander's future if not handled correctly. Why? Because his play style, the one that led him to be the offensive rookie of the year, is sending him straight to the infirmary. Are we about to mortgage the franchise on a QB who can't stay healthy? Or does Adam Peters have a master plan to protect his investment? And speaking of protection, is it possible the front office is failing their star by not surrounding him with the necessary weapons? While our signal caller's future hangs by a thread due to injuries, the lack of offensive support is a hot topic. How do we expect him to shine if we don't give him a supporting cast worthy of an elite quarterback? But it doesn't end there, because the move no one in the DMV saw coming, and that could change the entire landscape in Washington, is the possible departure of a key piece of our defensive line to the Chargers. A trade for a 2027 fifth-round pick and Bud Dupree. Are we dismantling our defensive identity? Is Adam Peters a genius, or is he making unforgivable mistakes that will cost us dearly? This is insane. Bam, we need your opinion. Like this video and subscribe to join the true Commander Nation and debate whether we trust Adam Peters' process or if we're on the brink of disaster. Listen, y'all don't understand. The main news, the one that's got my heart in my hand and my head steaming, is our quarterback, Jayden Daniels' situation. There's talk about a contract extension, 3 years and $160 million, almost $53.4 million per year. That would put him as the fifth highest paid QB in the league. And yeah, in 2024, he was the offensive rookie of the year. He led the team to the NFC Championship game, 3,500 yards, 25 TDs, 9 interceptions, almost 900 rushing yards, and 6 TDs. Insane numbers, I won't deny it. But bro, what happened in 2025? A season washed out by injuries, knee, hamstring, elbow. He only played 4 full games and 7 appearances. 7. And now, are we just going to hand him a blank check for $160 million to a guy who can't stay healthy? This is financial irresponsibility that could cost us the future of the franchise. I love Jayden. His talent is undeniable. He's electric, a playmaker who gets you off your seat. But his playing style, that aggressiveness, that way he runs like he's Superman, like there's no tomorrow, it's killing him. Brian Mitchell and J.P. Finley said it clearly. He needs to learn from Lamar Jackson how to protect himself. Lamar rarely takes big hits, and Jayden, man, he's exposing himself too much. He's self-destructing. Are we about to mortgage the future of the franchise with a massive contract to a guy who, by his own recklessness or by the lack of a protection plan, can't stay healthy? Or do Adam Peters and the front office need to give him more protection and weapons so he doesn't have to be the only hero? The only one moving the chains? Because if he can't be on the field, if those $160 million go to the injured reserve, it's going to be the worst deal in NFL history, and the blame won't just be on Jayden, but on a front office that couldn't read the situation. This is a debate we have to have, and we can't be soft. Do we give him the money and pray, or do we demand he changes his style and the front office protects him before signing a check that could sink us? This is crazy, and it pisses me off. Look, the thing is this, Jayden is a generational talent, no doubt. His ability to extend plays, to turn a broken play into a touchdown, is something we haven't seen in Ashburn in decades. But, and here's the big but, his durability is a giant concern. We can't ignore the elephant in the room. A contract of this magnitude isn't just a reward for the past, it's a massive investment in the future. And if that future is plagued by visits to the blue medical tent, then we're in serious trouble. Let's think about Adam Peters' philosophy. He's talked about building a culture of sustainability, of being smart with capital. Is it smart to give an elite contract to a player who, by his own playing style, constantly puts himself at risk? I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be paid. Of course he does, but the timing and conditions are crucial. Shouldn't we see a full season, or at least most of a season, where he proves he can be the kind of QB who absorbs hits and gets up, or who is cunning enough to avoid them? The comparison to Lamar Jackson is perfect. Lamar has evolved. At first, he was a runner with an arm. Now he's a passer who can run, and he does it with an intelligence that minimizes risk. Jayden, with all his talent, hasn't reached that point yet. And if the front office gives him that check without a serious conversation about how he's going to adapt his game, then they're complicit in a potential disaster. Plus, what message do we send to the rest of the team? That you can play recklessly, get injured, and still get a massive contract? That's not the message we want to send. We want a team that plays hard, yes, but also plays smart. And this is where the front office's responsibility comes in. If they're going to give him that money, they have to surround him with elite protection and weapons that allow him not to have to be the hero on every play. Because if Jayden feels like he has to do everything himself, he's going to keep running, he's going to keep taking risks, and he's going to keep getting injured. It's a vicious cycle that we have to break. The front office has to be proactive, not reactive. We can't wait for him to get injured again to say, oh, maybe we should have done something. The time to act is now, before that contract becomes a mortgage that drowns us for years. This isn't just about Jayden. It's about the franchise's vision, about how we handle our future. And honestly, I'm worried we're about to make a very, very expensive mistake. And this leads me directly to the next point, which is intrinsically connected to Jayden's situation and where the front office has to take its share of responsibility. There's talk that he needs support, that the front office hasn't given him enough weapons. They say Jackson had Derrick Henry, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, and Jayden. Terry McLaurin is a beast. Yeah, he's our captain, our undisputed number one. But who else, bro? Who else? They tried with Alec Pierce and Romeo Doubs, brought back De'Ami Brown, added Van Jefferson, and a third-round pick in Antonio Williams. Is that enough for a QB who's going to make $53 million a year? Keep it a buck. That's an insult. We don't have an elite running back to take pressure off him, to establish the ground game, and there isn't a single first-round pick among his receivers, not one. How do we expect Jayden to shine if we don't give him a supporting cast worthy of a franchise quarterback? Adam Peters brought in Laramie Tunsil to protect him and a dynamic tight end. That's good. It's a step in the right direction. But where are the playmakers who take pressure off him, who give him easy options, who allow him to breathe? Where's the plan for David Blau, the new OC, to protect Jayden without him having to be Superman on every play, without him having to constantly improvise because his receivers aren't getting open or aren't winning their matchups? If Jayden gets injured again, whose fault is it gonna be? The players for his style, or a front office that, despite the promises, hasn't managed to surround him with enough talent so he doesn't have to take so many risks? It's a combination, yes, but the front office has to do its part, and so far, they're not convincing me. We can't expect a guy who's gonna earn that much money to carry the whole team if we don't give him the right tools. It's crazy, and it's a recipe for disaster. Look, it's like building a luxury mansion and then furnishing it with IKEA furniture. Jayden Daniels is the mansion. The potential is limitless. But if we don't give him the finishes, the furniture, the luxury decor, how do we expect it to be a real mansion? Terry McLaurin is a Ferrari, yeah, but a Ferrari doesn't win a race if the rest of the team are golf carts. We need more Ferraris. Or at least high-performance sports cars. David Blau's offense, the new OC, has to be designed to maximize Jayden's strengths, but also to mitigate his weaknesses, especially his tendency to run and take hits. That means a scheme that prioritizes quick passes, short and intermediate routes that allow receivers to gain separation quickly, and a running game that is a constant threat. But for that, you need the right players. I'm not saying we don't have talent. Jahan Dotson, for example, has flashes, but he hasn't been consistent. Curtis Samuel left, and we haven't replaced him with someone of his caliber in terms of versatility. Van Jefferson, he's a good guy, a solid receiver, but he's not a game changer. Antonio Williams is an unknown. We need a second receiver who can be a real threat, who can win one-on-one, who can stretch the field, and a running back who can break tackles, who can be a factor in the passing game, who can give Jayden an escape valve when pressure comes. The offensive line is crucial, and the arrival of Laramie Tunsil is a huge step. But a single player doesn't make a line. We need the rest of the OL to step up, to play as a cohesive unit. And bro, pass protection isn't just the OL. It's also the scheme, the tight ends blocking, the running backs blocking. It's a whole ecosystem. If the front office truly believes in Jayden Daniels as the future of this franchise, then they have to show it with actions, not just with words or with a check. They have to invest in the talent around him. They have to give him the tools so he doesn't have to be a superhero on every play. Because if they don't, if Jayden gets injured again, if his performance drops because he's constantly under pressure or because he has no one to throw to, then the blame won't just be his. It will be on a front office that failed to protect its most valuable investment. And that, fam, is something we cannot afford. And to top it off, bro, the possible departure of Darren Payne to the Chargers, a trade for a 2027 fifth-round pick, and Bud Dupree. Are we crazy? Have we lost our minds? Payne, a former first-rounder, a guy who had 12 sacks, 49 pressures in 2022. Yeah, his numbers dropped in 2025, 26 pressures and 4 sacks. But he was still an important player, an anchor on our defensive line, and now we trade him for a fifth-round pick and an edge who, with all due respect, is not Payne, and who is also a veteran whose tank we don't know how much is left. They say the Chargers' defense is just fine, but they need more to be Super Bowl contenders. And us, are we dismantling the defensive line that was supposed to be our strength, the identity of this team? Is this the rebuilding of the aging defensive unit? Man, this smells like we're letting talent walk out the back door without real compensation, without a clear plan of how we're going to replace that production. Is Adam Peters as smart as we think, or is he making mistakes that are going to cost us dearly in the future, leaving holes we won't be able to fill? Because if we lose Payne and don't replace him with someone of his caliber, our defense is going to suffer, and that's going to put even more pressure on Jayden, on the secondary, on the whole team. I don't like this at all, fam. This is a step backward, not a step forward. Look, I could be wrong, but this Darren Payne situation just doesn't sit right with me. I understand the idea of rebuilding and looking for value, but sacrificing a player of Payne's quality for a 2027 fifth-round pick and a Bud Dupree who's already in the twilight of his career, that's a move that makes me raise an eyebrow, fam. Payne, even with a down season in 2025, is still an interior defensive lineman who demands double teams, who collapses the pocket, who is a force against the run. His presence frees up other players to make plays. Who's going to fill that void? Can Jonathan Allen do it alone? Are we going to rely on a rookie or a role player to replace that production? That's a huge risk, especially when we're trying to build a solid defense under Dan Quinn. The identity of the Commanders, at least in recent years, has been their defensive line. It's been the only consistent thing, the only thing that's given us some hope. And now, are we dismantling that? If the idea is to rejuvenate the defense, there are ways to do it without giving away talent. We could have sought greater compensation or kept him to be a leader in the transition. And Bud Dupree, with all due respect, is not the answer. He's a veteran pass rusher, yes, but his best years are behind him. Is he going to provide the same interior pressure as Payne? Not even close. This seems like a money-saving or locker room cleaning move rather than a strategic move to improve the team. If Adam Peters is trying to be the genius we all expect, he has to prove it with moves that truly elevate the team's level. Not weaken it in areas where we were already strong, because if our defense weakens, then the pressure on Jayden Daniels and the offense will be even greater. And that, as we already discussed, is a recipe for disaster. This trade, if it goes through, seems like a miscalculation to me, a mistake that could cost us dearly in terms of defensive performance and ultimately in the development of our young quarterback. We cannot afford to make these kinds of mistakes if we truly want to be contenders. We need a clear plan, and this move, for me, does not fit into a winning plan. Commanders fam, 3 news items that have my head spinning and that make me seriously question the direction of this franchise. Jayden Daniels' situation and his contract, the support we're not giving him, and Darren Payne's possible departure. Are we building a winning team, or are we making the same old mistakes with a new administration that promised to be different? I need your opinions, your arguments, your passion, your frustration. Leave me in the comments what you think about all this. Would you give Jayden the check? Do you think the front office is doing a good job? What would you do with Payne? Let's debate, because this is what makes us Commanders. See you in the next video, and as always, hail to the Commanders, but a hail with a little bit of worry today.